slang. You might find yourself in a bowl of wrong. You might lose yourself, but you know where you belong. Lay down on the carpet, baby, don't you try to leave. I see you over in the corner, picking up pieces of a bad hair weave. When all you got to do is bring them back and make a swing. Swing, batter, swing.
Well, I have 2 records before I started doing Chocolate Genius under my own name, and then I moved to New York in the early 90s, and I had another band called Hope is a Muscle. And then when that band split up, I stayed in the studio and I started writing the songs for the first Chocolate Genius record, which was called Black Music. Then I did another record after that called God Music, and then another record called Black Yankee Rock after that were about 5 years apart. And then I met the people at No Format, and I released the last 2 records here through that label. And I kind of stopped releasing records in America. This is the first record that'll only be released without an American release, and it's called Truth versus Beauty. But other than that, I've done a lot of other things for music for film, music for theater. I toured for a while with some other musicians, with Bruce Springsteen, and I made some records with a guy named Buddy Miller from Nashville. So I keep busy, or I play with my dog and my children, you know, when I'm not making music. Well, it's funny because like I've been on some of the biggest labels in the world. My first record I did was on Warner Brothers. And those places have a lot of power and a lot of money, so you can make, you know, you can be in the studio, you can spend money on the records, but those companies are so big that you don't really get to know the people that are behind the music, and it's also the kind of thing where maybe there's one person at the label that loves you and brings you there, but the other people who have to promote the record, they might not be excited about your project. I met No Format. Everyone that I've met in Paris, my connection is through the band Bumcello, which is Vincent Segal and Cyril Etef. So Vincent introduced me to Seb Martel. Seb Martel introduced me to my manager. My manager knew the people at No Format. My manager is Thomas Weil. And immediately, No Format was just very small. It's just 2 guys. They love music. They don't release anything that they don't love. So it's just been incredible to just, you know, be in a small place where I feel like people appreciate the music. They don't have any particular, like, it really is No Format. They don't have a, you know, one type of music they specialize in. They have the Gonzalez records, they have, you know, Vincent's records, they have Melissa Laveau, they have some artists from Mali. They just do great stuff, and I really like them as people, you know, and that's been the greatest thing, to work with people that I like, you know.
All these girls is weak as powder blue.
Well, I don't think it's a new beginning for me any more than, I feel like every record is a new beginning, and especially if you look at how long I take in between records, there's always a lot of life that goes in between the records, and hopefully that life goes into these songs. I don't do dance music. I don't do music that you know, where the words aren't important. So for me, all the records are autobiographical. The only departure for Truth versus Beauty was that in the other records, I tried to make a real effort so that people could understand what the words were. The stories were very clear, very simple to understand. Truth versus Beauty, I think it takes more liberty with the lyrics. So some of the stories might not be so obvious, but it's equally autobiographical. You know, the songs are about my moving from Los Angeles to New York to Los Angeles. And the only real departure for this record is I played all the instruments by myself and I made all the sounds. On the other records, I've had incredible bands. And this record I did at home in my bedroom for, you know, on a computer, you know, and I made the videos. It's just, you know, that's the real departure. But other than that, you know, someone said to me once that, like, you know, all artists, they only paint one painting over and over again until they get it right, and all songwriters are really only writing one song. So I guess I fall into that category.
By your leaves, we will worship what we need to know. Mother Nature will tell us so. Be suited up and ready to glow. Can't stop, say no.
We played in the hospital last weekend for Seb's mother and, his grandmother. And I think everyone, even though you don't want to say it out loud, I think they know that she's not going to live forever. So I know it's probably the last time I'll see her because I don't know when I go back there. So we were performing and I was crying because, I have songs I've written about my mother. That was very powerful. When I first started playing with Bruce Springsteen, the very first show that we did was the very first show in New Orleans after the hurricane. So we played in a big field, and we got there in the morning and it was raining and it was muddy, and we thought, oh, it's going to be hard for the people. And then Bruce Springsteen walked out on stage and the sun just came out, and we played for 68,000 people. And I'll remember it forever, And then, but I've had some other great experiences. I played in Carnegie Hall in New York with Patti Smith and David Bowie singing right next to me, and Ray Davies from the Kinks. And I played a song of David Bowie's when he was standing right there. And I love him, so for me that was very powerful too, to meet him and to sing on the same stage.
Father, Son, and Holy Ghost, they bought a place out on the coast.
I don't know, someone who tells the truth and makes it beautiful. Truth versus beauty. And then someone who manages just to consistently stay alive, I'm so lucky, I think about it all the time, no one knows my music, but here I am talking to you, and I traveled to the south of France last weekend and we were picking grapes in the Loire Valley. And that's only because of music. Music brought me here, so that feels like an accomplishment, I don't know what an accomplishment is for other musicians, but for me in my life, if I can bring food home to feed my children with a guitar, I feel accomplished,
Steeped in plaid and azure wheel, eyes of ink and milk and sea. You can take tomorrow's time and it's time, 'cause they won't bring my child back to me.